All right, go ahead and go live.
You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Okay, we are live, gentlemen.
Live? All right. Let's give everybody a couple minutes here to get settled. Maybe 30 seconds. Let me remind people they can see the pink listen live button in the chat. All right.
And hopefully if people are listening, they'll be able to tell us in chat that they can hear us just fine. And if not, let us know. But we're live.
All right. And we are recording, Todd?
We are.
All right. Well, because we're recording, let's go ahead and get started. It is 9 o'clock here. We're all home right now. So if you hear any background noise, I apologize in advance. We may also be looking some things up from time to time as we go through some stats or whatnot, but let's go ahead and jump in. I'm Danny. I'm here with my co-founder, Todd Fiore, and great friend, Andrew Savine. We are here with a special segment for the Sircles Sports Hub. We've got some exciting playoff games coming up this weekend. We've entered the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and we're going to break down the way we see each game going. We may not always agree, but you'll gain some insight on how we view these games. Andrew here actually won our Sircles Fantasy Football League this year. Total luck, by the way. Andrew, let's start with the first game on our slate this weekend, Bills-Broncos in Denver. The Bills are playing on a short week. The Broncos had a first-round bye. The spread is 1.5. Denver minus 1.5. How do you see this game going?
Well, Danny, before we get to that, I'll just say my luck probably had something to do with the fact that I didn't choose every single player from the Detroit Lions and put all my eggs in one basket. So next year, up your draft game a little bit, and there'll be less luck involved. So listen, this first game, the line is really speaking to me, and I'm not sure that I am listening to it. And for those of you listening that are sports junkies like us, you might have noticed this. The Bills actually are the ones that opened up as the 1.5 point favorite. Throughout the week, the Bills have taken the majority of the public money in the sports book. They've taken over 60% of the hold. Yet the line has moved what I would consider opposite of that. And the Broncos are now the 1.5 point favorite. So certainly the line and the sports books are trying to tell us something here, but I have a feeling that I'm a little bit on the sucker side of this one, Danny.
I am too. I'm on the Bills as well.
Yeah.
Give me Josh Allen in a big playoff game without Patrick Mahomes in. But I do think sharp money is coming in on the Broncos right now. I think a lot of smart bettors see Patrick Surtain shutting down one half of the field. The Broncos are going to play a lot of man-to-man, and they're going to force Josh Allen to beat him with a weak receiving core.
Yep. But here's the thing about that, Danny. Sorry to interrupt you, but here's the thing. Surtain can shut down the number one receiver, but the weird thing about the Bills is they do not really have a number one receiver. And it's like, okay, if they shut down Shakir, then who really cares? You got your big tight ends to go to. You got a bunch of guys off the street that, Alan Stone's. You got Keon Coleman, who's in and out of the lineup every week, but like he randomly makes a big play when they need it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just buying into this team of destiny feel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Shakir trying to go downfield too often against Surtain. I think they're going to do something very similar to what they did last week, where they're throwing really quick screen passes to Shakir, trying to get him out in the open field.
Yeah. I agree with that. One thing I would say though, and this is kind of, once again, it's going against the way I have, just putting all my cards on the table for anybody that's listening. I have already put my money where my mouth is, and unfortunately, I took the Bills early in the week, so I laid the 1.5, unfortunately. But I mean, when it's a 1 or 2 point spread, I mean, it's really close to being the same as a money line. So I'm not super bothered by the fact that I'm not getting the best of the line. But I'll tell you what, the Bills last week, were unable to run the ball against Jacksonville. I do not see that being the case this week. I see James Cook having a big game on the ground. I see Josh Allen having a big game on the ground. And then, the one thing that goes against us liking the Bills a little bit is Dalton Kincaid has been spotted walking around in a walking boot. And that kind of leads us to something I like prop-wise, which I think you'll get to in a little bit, right, Danny?
Yeah, we'll cover props here in just a second, but I agree with you. I think James Cook's going to have success on the ground, and he has to for them to win.
Yeah, I just, we saw this game almost a year ago to the day, and it was 31-7. And I know Denver's good, but if you guys have been following the whole season, they have won no game by any margin. They've gone down to the final minute into overtime against teams that are nowhere to be found because they are not playoff teams. And I just don't see it. I don't see 31-7 last year and like there being a 24-point difference for a Broncos win this year. I just don't see it. And I know that there's smart money against where I am in this game, and I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I really don't see it either. Although I am going to gamble up a little bit. I shared my lottery with you. It's going to include Bills minus 13.5.
Yeah.
There is a game script that could come to fruition here where Bo Nix just isn't ready with a lot of pressure. I think the Bills are going to play some zone defense. They're going to disguise well. And if he turns the ball over a couple times and James Cook does well on the ground, I can see him winning by 2 touchdowns. That actually happened to him earlier in the year against the Jags, which is really the last good quarterback they played. And it was 34-20. So
yeah,
I'm going to have a little lottery on that with the prop that I think you're going to say you like as well here. Let's go ahead and shift over to that. So you were going to say Dalton Knox?
Well, what I was saying initially is Dalton Kincaid is usually my favorite of the tight end targets there. And it's usually Josh Allen's favorite of his tight end targets. But Dalton Kincaid, even though he probably will be on the field, and as he was last week, but he was only on the field last week for 28 offensive snaps. So I see Dawson Knox having a great week this week. So I'm going Knox over on his receiving yards. I have it at 20.5 here. I've already put some action in on that, and then in some other areas, I'm gambling up on him scoring a touchdown as well. It's more of a long shot touchdown. Any touchdown that's sort of like above that like 2-1 to 2.5 to 1 range is considered more of a long shot in that market these days, and so many people bet that market. But he's more in the 3 to 4 range, and I'm all over that.
Yeah, I think I confused you. I said Dalton Knox, but
yeah,
Dalton Knox, and I like him to go over his 21.5 as well. I also think Josh Allen's going to score again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that, but I don't like the whole like minus 120 situation on a touchdown. I stay away from it. Obviously, as a Bills backer, I'm rooting for him to get in the end zone, but I won't be taking a straight bet on that.
I won't either. Actually, that's just part of the lottery ticket. It'll go with Bills minus 13.5 and Knox over 21.5. I think I got it at maybe 20.
Yeah, great. Sounds good. I mean, it's a good gamble. I think if they win by 14, then both those things are going to happen. So I do like the you got your things working together. I like that.
So let's talk about the X factor. I saw Sean Payton in a press conference this week talking about how he wants the fans to get really loud when the Bills enter the huddle. I thought that was really interesting. Historically, they talk about getting really loud right when you're coming out of the huddle, but it makes a lot of sense. Make it hard to hear the play call.
Yeah, that's smart. And Sean Payton certainly is that. And one of the things about the Bills is they do operate their offense at a much slower pace than not just the majority of offenses in the NFL period, but certainly the majority of like the good offenses in the NFL. And they are a team that huddles up more and does a few more running guys in and out. And they're not one of these up-tempo teams until they kind of like need to go there.
That's true. Well, sadly for Sean Payton, he does not have the best 12th man in the league, which is the perfect segue into our next game. Crowd noise and home field advantage is going to be a huge advantage in Seattle. The Niners are going to Seattle after playing them just 2 weeks ago. that was Seattle's last game. So they're basically playing them back to back. I had Charbonnet to score in that game. He did score. The Niners looked awful. They did not have Kittle. They struggled to move the ball. Did they even score a touchdown?
No, I think it was 13-3. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, 13-3. That's right.
Yeah.
Do you see them doing any better this week?
Yes, and I have history to back me up here. Over the past, I read this stat and I did not write it down, so everyone give me a little grace if I'm not exact with the time frame on this. I believe this is going back 15 years in the divisional round. Underdogs of 6 points or more are covering at a 2/3 clip, at like a 67% clip. So I like it purely based on that. I also like it just, up front with all the fans at home. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, grew up watching Joe Montana and Steve Young. So I am a Niners guy, but I do think that 7.5 is an outrageous line. And I think history says that even if you are not a fan of one of these teams and you just want a little action in the game, that you go ahead and you take the points all day. And I'll tell you one thing about the 13-3 game, Danny, is even though the Niners look terrible, I think you saw their worst possible game right there. I do not think you saw Sam Darnold's worst possible game right there, and they only put up 13. That's not a very much margin to win by when you have one team's worst and one team's maybe median. Because even though Seattle's defense is great, their offenses come back down to earth, and they have obviously maybe the most talented wide receiver, but they do not have the most talented quarterback throwing to that receiver, and the pieces around it are very hit and miss. As a Charbonnet guy, you know this. Their ground game is hit and miss, and I trust the coaching staff of the San Francisco 49ers to scheme it up and make it a close game. Obviously, as a fan, I'll be rooting for the Niners to win. As a bettor and somebody that follows this stuff and is a nerd about it, I think my money's in a good spot taking the points here.
I agree with you. And, we don't always agree on these picks.
Yes.
It's very rare, but so far we're 2 for 2. I like the Niners plus 7.5, although I have seen some interesting line movement there as well. It opened at 6.5, then went to 7.5 and back down to 7, which I think that move back down to 7 really was just the announcement about Darnold being questionable, which I think is total bullshit. I think he's playing no matter what. So
Correct.
I think we've got some mind games going on there. But, one other thing I didn't hear you mention, Trent Williams went out early in that last Niners game. He's back now. That makes a big difference for Purdy because he is one of those guys that kind of needs a couple extra seconds in the pocket. If he's got a lot of pressure on him, he starts turning the ball over. He really needs time for things to open up down the field.
Yeah. And, when he doesn't have that time, he does have McCaffrey and even Juszczyk to dump off to. But I agree with you on that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Purdy throws 1, maybe even 2 picks in this game. But, they've proven that doesn't put them out of it. It's not like, one of the games we'll get to in the future where if they turn it over and they throw a pick 6, how are they going to get back in the game? Because their offense is non-existent. But that's not how this Niners team is. And absolutely, having Trent Williams makes a huge difference. Although I would say I doubt that he is 100%. He did get beat on quite a few more plays than you would normally see Trent Williams get beat on last weekend. But, he's had another 6 days to recover. So hopefully he's good to go.
Hopefully. I don't know if I see McCaffrey having a ton of success on the ground here, but he is CMC, so you never know. I also think, even though I like the Niners at plus 7.5, I don't really see them getting out with the win. I think Seattle's probably going to win the game and move on to the next round.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if anybody's like really deep into this and looking to put their money in a good spot, there are lines out there that you can get on certain sites. I'm not going to name drop because I don't want to promote anybody until the paychecks start coming in. But you can get a Seattle victory by 1 to 7 points. That is out there, and that can get you about 2 to 1. So if you think it's going to land in that framework, search around. You guys all got that Google machine to use. You can find it.
It's pretty good, actually. I thought you were going to say like plus 140 or something like that.
No, 2 to 1.
All right. So props on this game. I'll start. Purdy's throwing a pick. He's throwing one for sure. That's one of my locks. That's one of my 2 locks, and they're both picks, by the way.
Oh, okay, great. I like where this is going. All right, so, well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. What's your other lock? Just to be super clear, there, Danny.
It's not this game, but
okay, I see. Okay,
yeah.
I thought you were saying that you wanted that Darnold throwing a pick was also a lock, and I was saying, okay, that's great. But
no, over the whole weekend, there are really 3 props that I love, and 2 of them are in the next game we're going to discuss. But
okay,
I like for 1 pick in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the tight end well here. I think that, obviously Kittle is a huge loss for the Niners, but Jake Tonjes has, and I apologize to Jake if I'm saying his last name wrong.
He's not listening.
No? Okay. But I like Jake getting some good action this weekend. I like him, in a receptions way and a yardage way. And just like I like to gamble up on Knox in the first game, I don't mind a little sprinkle on a Jake Tonjes touchdown as well. So that's where I'm looking. I think that other markets that both you and I kind of like, something like McCaffrey receptions has gotten so overinflated from the public catching on and piling on that when you and I were on that stuff, it was 4.5, and now it's all the way up to not to be like the kids are these days, but it's up to 6 or 7. So yeah. So I'm gonna have to stay away from some of those props I would otherwise like and go with some more no-name stuff like my boy Tonjes.
Yeah, I've seen Tonjes line moving around like drastically. I've seen it anywhere from 36.5 to 44.5. So I like it at 36.5. I don't like 4.5.
I agree with you. I got it at 36. I think you can play that all the way up to 39, but once you go past that 40-yard threshold, I would stay off of it, guys.
Agreed. I like Juszczyk to score too. I think Seattle has a tendency to just like flood the middle when the Niners approach the goal line, and they have to account for Purdy's legs. So I like him possibly freeing himself up for like a quick little 2-yard reception in the end zone.
Yeah, and Shanahan's going to have to use some misdirection. This is not going to be McCaffrey up the middle, outlet pass to Juwan Jennings. It's not going to be that. It can't be that. If it's that, then they're going to put up 3, 6, 9 points again. So I agree with you that there will be a touchdown scorer that is in the long shot category, somebody like Kyle Juszczyk. So I don't hate that.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned the misdirection. Shanahan runs a lot of motion. I think the 12th man might apply a little differently here in this game, where you make noise coming out of the huddle and at the line of scrimmage more so than going into the huddle, which is pretty interesting. But I think being able to communicate at the line of scrimmage is going to be more important for the Niners than in the huddle.
Yeah, I do see it potentially being a factor in the first game we talked about. In this game, I don't see it being as much of a factor. I think that these guys can get the call in with little to no hearing. I think that Brock Purdy has ice in his veins, and even though he's a guy that'll throw a pick six, he'll come right back down the field and show you the ballsiest play you've ever seen. So I just I don't see them getting rattled. I know that there could be some communication problems, but Shanahan is one of the best halftime adjusters there is, and if they struggle in the first half with that communication, they're going to get that squared away. But there's no way that he doesn't have a plan for that.
You don't think Josh Allen has ice in his veins?
Well,
and by the way, the halftime thing, that's a total myth.
Well, they just go in there and they drink Gatorade and that's it. Tom Brady's not in the meeting I'm talking about. I mean, the coaches are scheming during halftime. I'm not talking about like it's a team meeting where the coaches are saying anything. So Tom Brady, despite being the greatest of all time, would not even be like privy to what I'm talking about because it would have happened in a closed door where he was not even watching.
All right. Well, here's what I know. I know that I watch football on Sundays upstairs in my house. Halftime starts. I go to the restroom very quickly, grab some water, grab a snack, and by the time I'm back upstairs, we're kicking off. So I don't know how much time they have to adjust.
Right. They got the guys in the booth and everything, but okay, fair enough.
Right.
One more thing about the 12th man before we move along. I just would like to say, in going back into defense of my +7.5 pick, even though Seattle is one of these teams that has like a very big perceived home field advantage, that the numbers do not bear that out from this season. Their road, not only was their road record superior, but their defensive efficiency and the advanced statistics were all better on the road versus at home. As you know, just even looking at that 13-3 game, that was on the road. And the game that was closer was at home. So anyway, just a little tidbit there.
I didn't know that. You shared it with me earlier this week. I thought that was really interesting and definitely one of those things I consider before placing a bet. So I'm with you on the Niners. Let's go ahead and go into game 3 now. The Texans at New England, 2 strong defenses. I'm looking at the forecast for Foxborough right now. It's going to be in the mid-30s. The real feel is looking like 27 degrees. More importantly, there's a 42% chance of precipitation. I don't know if it rains or not. What I do know is that CJ Stroud has historically struggled outdoors in the cold. The ball becomes slick, his accuracy dips. And I'm just not a huge fan of CJ Stroud in general. But before I let you make your pick, I am going to say I'm taking the points here against my better judgment. I like the Texans +3.5. I think the defense gets it done for them. Defense wins championships. We've seen this before. I'm a Raider fan, and I remember like early 2000s, there was this Ravens team with Ray Lewis that just shut everybody down and made it impossible for you to score. And that's what this Texans defense reminds me of. I know the Texans don't have Nico Collins, so I don't know how they get it done. Maybe the defense has to score. But what do you think here?
Yeah, I think that if we had an outline for this show, which we didn't really since it was our first one ever, we're a little on the fly here, that I would be going off script here because I think that our previous conversations might have had me agreeing with you on this one. No Nico Collins, I'm out. And I know that's very simplistic and that, you know, betting does not come down to those skill position players. There's a big separation between successful betting and fantasy play, let's say. However, you know, who are they throwing to? You know, and you could make the same argument about the Bills in retort to my pick in that game. However, it's not Josh Allen standing back there. As you said, it's CJ Stroud. And, you know, just by the eye test, and I'd be willing to bet that the numbers back this up, the guy has regressed, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, his second season was good. His rookie season, you know, he showed some flashes, and I feel like he's regressed. And, you know, that game last week against the Steelers, just Stroud and the entire offense could not have played any worse. And, you know, this is not like the Bills, not just in their quarterback situation, but he is not turning around and handing the ball to James Cook. If James Cook was on this team, I might stick with you on the +3.5. But, you know, they're handing it off to these guys that, you know, stay healthy for 1 quarter time. This Woody Marks, I mean, talk about fantasy frustrations and luck. I mean, this guy's like in for a quarter, out for a quarter. He runs for 90 yards. He runs for 8 yards. Like he's just very unreliable. And I question, you know, his grit, his talent. I don't know. Like I'm not 100% sure what is missing, but he is not one of these backs, and their run game is not one of these run games that I think that they can rely on. You know, the New England Patriots, where they can give it up is in the explosive plays deep. And with Christian Gonzalez being banged up, like in the secondary for the Patriots, it seems like a likely scenario, but I just don't see who the ball's going to go to. And even if the ball,
It would have to work.
Well, yeah, and even if it goes, even if the ball gets to somebody, who's it coming from? It's coming from CJ Stroud, who I don't know. I think that if you had asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans make it to the Super Bowl because their defense is so great. But I just think that there's this one other X factor too that we have not addressed. We did address it a lot as far as or at least my praise for Shanahan, but the coaching disparity in this is, I think, pretty big. And I think that this will be a tight game. I do like the under. I don't currently have a straight bet on this game, and I'm a little undecided as far as where I'm going to put my personal money. But I will be taking a look at the under. I do.
What about Texans under team total?
What do you have? What do you have that at, Danny? I don't have the lines in front of me.
19.5.
Yeah. And I really think even anything down as low as 17.5, that's probably playable. I think 17 is really the key number when you're making a bet like that. And then for the higher scoring teams, the key number becomes like the 23, 24 number. But yeah, I don't mind that. The only thing I'd say is I just there's one other thing with these two tough defenses. Patriots have a good run defense. They put good pressure on. I see Stroud kind of melting under that pressure. There's been so many times, and you know this, Danny, that Stroud is a guy, I like his athleticism, and I like him to take off. I like taking a random rushing prop on CJ Stroud. And I don't know if he's injured and they're not telling anybody or what, but the guy refuses to run. He can have these huge lanes where a first down is just available to him. And maybe it's a concussion concern from the past. I'm not 100% sure what it is.
I've noticed that.
There's something going on there that he's not taking off. Whereas Drake May, when it comes to those decisions, that is why it is possible that Drake May win the MVP this year. It's not just the fact that he was such an accurate passer, which he was great this year. But his decision-making as far as when to take off and leave the pocket and make stuff happen with his feet is really impressive. I mean, especially for a rookie, but really impressive for anybody. So I just see them handling the pressure that's going to be coming at them for sure in two very different ways. And I hate laying 3.5. That hook it kills you so often. But that's the way I'm leaning. I'm leaning to minus 3.5 on the Patriots, and I'm leaning towards the under. And yeah, how you feel about that, Danny?
Well, it's going to be a no bet for me. I'm not putting money on a side here because my two favorite props of the week are actually in this game, and it is CJ Stroud. It's CJ to throw a pick and to stay under his passing yards. Like if they're going to win this game, I see the defense getting it done, and I actually see Drake May throwing one too. He likes to force balls into tight windows, and I don't think the Texans defense is the defense you want to do that against.
Yeah,
we could also see like a sack fumble. I can see the Texans winning this game and having both of these props hit, which is super weird to say. Like normally you say, hey, the quarterback's going to throw a pick and stay under 208 passing yards. They've got no shot to win. I think this is a game you can win while staying under those props. But as far as putting my money on the line, it'll be Stroud interception and Stroud under on his passing yards. And I think you can see in the sleeper app actually, those are the second leg of a couple two-teamers where the first leg is already in. So I already stand to hit a small number if either one of those props stays under. And so that's what I'm going with here.
Yeah, I like those plays. I think that if you're looking at the Patriots side of things and if you're, staying away from the spread, like it sounds like both of us might be, who knows how we'll feel by Sunday morning. Let's see how Saturday goes, you know what I mean? But as of right now, we're kind of staying away from the 3.5 on both sides of it. If you want to take Danny's action on the Texans side, I think that's totally reasonable action. And I would just encourage people to kind of look at some props. If they're like every other degenerate gambler out there and likes the overs, I know that you're going to do one, grit your teeth and do the under on the passing yards for Stroud. But in general, the overs give a little more fun. And if you are betting how you should bet which is with extremely disposable income, and you want to have a little fun, I think something like Hunter Henry touchdown, Drake May touchdown, Drake May rushing yards. I really do see a scenario where May takes off and, he's the type of guy that could take off, escape, and run a 25-yarder in. and then you're covering everything in one play. And obviously that's a bingo type situation. And that's why I'm saying that's just a sprinkle, and that's with your most disposable of income.
Yeah, I like those picks as well. But I hate the Patriots. I'm a Raider fan. I'm never going to get over the tuck rule. And I shouldn't even count on a sack fumble because they'll come up with some new rule for it anyway. So with that being said, let's get into this last game here. Before I start dropping any stats or giving a little narrative, Todd's a Bears fan. Todd, what's your gut tell you?
Oh man, these guys scare me as much as I love them. The Bears, watching them play the Niners this season, that was probably one of the most exciting games I've seen in a long time. Where the Bears pick six at the opening of the game, Niners come back, score, Bears come back, score. It goes back and forth the entire game, and Niners pulled it off. Great game. But that's not how all the Bears games go. It's a slow start for the Bears a lot of the times, and then they take some big risks towards the end, and they've been paying off. So I hope they can pull it off again. I think they can. They're at Soldier Field. They got the home field advantage, so I think they'll take it.
All right. Spoken like a true fan here. I was watching that Bears-Niners game as well and was on the edge of my seat. I had the Niners on the money line in that game, and they sweat it out all the way until the final play. I had my wife Lisa watching it with me, and she's like on the edge of her seat, which never happens, but that game was back and forth for sure. So we've got some interesting weather here. This is like frozen tundra at Soldier Field. It's brutal. It's going to feel like negative 11 degrees out there. Luckily for the Rams, they've got two guys that are used to it on that stellar offense. Devontae Adams played in Green Bay. They say he's immune to the cold. Stafford was in Detroit, and even though they're in a dome, he had to travel to Chicago and Green Bay twice a year and is used to it. So, Andrew, do you know what this line is? I think it was Rams minus 3.5.
Yeah, I have seen that it's come up to 4 in some places, but 3.5, 4 is what I'm seeing. I have not seen a 4.5, nor have I seen a 3. So it's going back and forth between those two half points, 3.5, 4.
3.5 and 4. Well, there was a game earlier in the season where I gambled up. I took the Bucks against the Rams. Baker was hurt, but I saw the Rams firing on all cylinders during that game, and I thought to myself, this team's going to win the Super Bowl. They're the most well-rounded team. At least that was my opinion at the time. They had a shaky loss to, I think, the Panthers like the very next week. But when they're at their best, I don't know who can beat them. They dominated Seattle for most of the game, and then Seattle had that miraculous comeback with the controversial 2-point conversion. But, and look, I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a Bulls fan. Somehow I ended up a Raider fan. The Bears are my second favorite team in the NFL, but I just don't see them getting it done against the Rams if the Rams just come out and play at 85% of what they're capable of. I think they cover the spread too. The offense puts up a ton of points. So yeah, I think the Rams are my pick, minus 3.5 here, and I think they drop a big number on offense even in the cold. What do you think?
Yeah, I like this game a couple different ways. I really look when you're talking about Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, you're talking about guys that will do whatever it takes to win and will not care what it looks like. Matthew Stafford's not out there trying to make his build his MVP resume. You know what I mean? So I do think that they are going to rely on their backfield. And, we got two very interesting backfields here. You got Swift, and the young guy for the Bears. And then you have Kyron Williams and your guy. You've liked him throughout the year a little bit, like Corum.
Yeah.
And I give the edge to the Williams Corum duo in this matchup. And I give the edge to them because these guys are guys that can run with a little more power. Swift is more of a finesse player. An young guy can pound it up the middle a little bit, and maybe he'll be good in the cold. I don't expect the Bears to be able to do nothing. I don't think that they're just going to get completely shut down. And I would say that the reaction to harsh weather like this often is overreacted to by bettors, and you can see it in the total. The over-under currently is at 48, and it opened up at 51. So you're talking about a 3-point drop just based on weather reports for the most part, and money coming in on the under because of that, and the books adjusting the line based on the money coming in from the public. But I do believe that's public money. I don't believe that that's sharp money. So I I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I would take the over in the game, but I do think that points are going to be put up, and that leads me to the way I like this game. I like a little money line action on the Rams, tied with two different touchdown props. So this is two separate bets I'm making. I'm going Rams money line parlayed with a Corum touchdown, and I am going Rams money line parlayed with a Kyron Williams touchdown.
Cool.
And in both of those spots, I'm getting over 3-1.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
I'm looking at the lines right now on all these running backs. They've got Kyron at 60 yards, Corum at 45. That's implying about a 50-50 carry split. And it's actually similar for the Bears. It's 55 and 37.
Yeah, I see McVay using Corum in this game a lot. He did it a lot. He used him more and more and more down the stretch. And I think that the narrative at first that most people were analyzing that as, oh, he's giving Kyron Williams some rest, getting him ready for the playoffs, But I think that Corum's productivity has made him undeniable. So I think what may have started out with McVay wishing to lessen Williams' load has turned into McVay realizing that he has a two-headed monster back there. And I see that two-headed monster succeeding. There is one other bet I really like here, Danny, and you heard me bemoan the fact that there are no threes out there, because I think if there were threes out there, I would be taking Rams -3 on its own and not tying it up or doing anything cute. However, where you can get a 3 or even a 2.5, depending, you got to shop around, is on Rams first half. And like Todd, the Bears fan, already said, their MO for the majority of the games that they have played this season has been to get off to a slow start. And I'm talking about the Bears. They're going to get off to a slow start. McVay is going to be pounding the rock, and they're going to go into halftime with the lead, and I'm okay laying 3 in that spot.
Yeah, sounds like a sharp pick. There's another prop out there I saw earlier in the week that I think the weather will affect significantly. And if I can find it, I may grab some of it. It is longest field goal under 49.5. That is one thing that's really hard to do when it's freezing cold outside, is kick the football, especially when you factor in some wind. And I know guys are booming kicks these days, but that ball turns into a rock in the wind or in the freezing cold. So that's another one I'll be looking at.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna place a live prop bet here while we're on the show. I just saw Stroud's line moved up to 212.5 from 208 on Sleeper. And look, I think that's public money, especially on an app like this. You don't really see the sharps on Sleeper app doing prop parlays very often.
Probably not.
That's where you can make a lot of money on an app like this, is like letting the public chase these lines up and then going under. It's a lot easier said than done because it's not fun. And I'm guilty of taking overs all the time myself.
We all are. Yeah.
That 5-teamer I hit last night, though, I had some unders on the ticket. And if I was overs on everything, it would have been a loser for sure. So I'm looking for something to pair Stroud with under 212. I want something in this Bears-Rams game, like keep it simple and go Puka touchdown. I mean, I do think he scores again, but he's like minus 115, I think, to score. So Corum or Kyron?
Yeah, I think that Corum's going to get a lot of action this game, and I think like his lines are in a slightly better spot. You're getting a little more juice on those. His touchdown prop is a bigger payout. His yardage is a little less, and I see them getting somewhat close to a 50-50 share. The spots where Kyron Williams is going to be in the game is in passing situations, and he's shown himself to be pretty reliable for 2 or 3 receptions a game, and he's pretty good with his yak as well. So that's another place you can look. I always like a little Kyron Williams receiving prop.
I think I'm going to tie it to 2 players. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab Kyron. And then I think I'm going to take a Bears player with it and grab DJ Moore. The Panthers, number 2, number 3 receivers had a lot of success against the Rams in both games. And DJ Moore's touchdown odds are just inflated, in my opinion. They're higher than Luther Burden's, actually. So I think DJ Moore could get free and grab one.
Yeah. I don't dislike it. No harsh disagreements from over here.
All right. Well, anything else to add?
Yeah, I would just say that, like, historically, trend-wise, first weekend is often about favorites and unders, and second round, divisional round that we're going into tomorrow, is often about dogs and overs. That is what the trends bear out, and those hit at somewhere near that 2/3 clip that I was discussing earlier. The bigger the line, the more so that is true for the dog side, and ironically, the bigger the line, the more so that is true for the over side as well. You would think that it was the other way, but it's actually when the game has a number over 44. That's actually more likely to hit the over. And I know not all of our picks go exactly in that way with those trends. However, if you guys are sitting at home and you're thinking about where to sprinkle a little money to make the games a little more exciting, and you kind of want to be on the sharp side, the teams are all here for a reason. So any team that's getting points, if you don't have a strong feel on the game, or you don't want to go with something you heard Danny and I talk about, sprinkling a little money on the dog is always a good way to go, and sprinkle a little money on the over, going against those line movements. People are betting these overs down, and we're just going to go against the public and go over on those. And I think that is probably something I will do in the Rams and Bears game, is I will go against this bad weather narrative and go ahead and go over on that game.
If I was going to go over on any game this weekend, it would be the Bears and the Rams. And then I'd say the Niners Seahawks actually would be my second choice for a couple teams to make it over. And I think one thing I didn't mention is I think Jackson Smith and Jigba scores a touchdown in this game. He had, 6 or 7 catches in their last matchup for like 83, 84 yards, maybe 86, somewhere in there. But he was free quite a bit. And I think Darnold is going to I think he's going to catch him freed up at least once in this game.
Well, he's going to give him opportunities, because I don't remember what the number was, but I think over 50% of his throws went his direction, like in the first game. His downfield throws, I should say, not including like halfback dump offs or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
They just have
downfield throws. Yeah.
And he did break free once. He just didn't make it.
Yeah. All right, Danny, this was fun. Thanks for having me.
It was. Hey, before we go, let's make a prediction right now. Who's in the Super Bowl? Who wins it? I'll start. I'm going. Okay, I really think it's going to be the Seahawks, but I'm going to pick the Rams in the NFC. I don't want it to be the Seahawks. I've got a Super Bowl futures bet on the Rams, so I'm going with the Rams. And I think Josh Allen gets it done. Rams, Bills, and Rams beat them.
All right. Well, this is not too exciting because we share part of it. I did tell you 2 weeks ago, before the playoffs began, that I believe that the winner of the Jacksonville-Buffalo game was who was going to make it from the AFC. And I am going to maybe be a little stubborn here and just stick with that. So I also have the Bills coming out of the AFC. And, despite my Niner fanhood and me liking the points this weekend, I do think that you were right with one of your early anecdotes about defenses winning championships, and so I will see Seattle as my NFC. But as you know, the NFL is an entertainment business, and I think we all want to see Josh Allen hoist that trophy. I know I do. So
I do.
that's who I'm picking. Josh Allen over the Seahawks.
Look, I won't be mad either way. If the Rams can make it through and run into the Bills, I'll just hedge a little bit on Josh Allen and probably root for the Bills.
Yeah. The Bills will be dogs. So you can actually take the points and hope for
a middle.
Hope for a middle. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it'll be hard not to want Josh Allen to win if they run into each other there.
Yeah. I'd donate a little money to that.
For sure. All right, Andrew, thank you for joining. Todd, thank you for hosting and chiming in with that Bears W. I don't know about all that, but
we'll see. We'll see. It's a long shot, man. You can't be taking those kinds of risks all season, expect to win. So we'll see what happens.
Like Andrew said, all these teams are here for a reason, and it's any given Sunday. So,
yep.
All right. Well, let's plan to do this for the conference championship round. We'll do another breakdown, and then we'll follow it up with the Super Bowl and go from there.
Sounds good.
All right,
Andrew,
boys.
Thank you. Yep, Danny, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for listening.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Have fun this weekend.